Okay. All right, yeah. Great. Zoom is great. We're recording. The
Yes.
light's blinking and you're here and I'm here and okay, so hello friends and thank you for watching. Thanks for tuning in. I've said this a couple of times recently, but we've had a lot of traffic lately and maybe it's because a lot of people are home. It's April 30th right now, 2020, as we record this video. And so we're in the midst of the lockdown for many of us, or, social distancing, COVID-19 crisis. So we're going to have a conversation about that today with my friend, somebody I look up to very much, a movement expert, a movement specialist, just an all-around awesome friend and person, Nika Eshetu. How are you, Nika? And thanks for joining me.
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me again. I really enjoyed our conversation last time. I'm looking forward to today.
Me too. Me too. Anytime we get to have some time, I always get inspired quickly, like I already am. So,
Still same.
so before we started rolling here, people who are watching and listening, we were talking off camera about just some things, and there's so many different perspectives, so many different ways that, let's say, this pandemic is affecting some of us. And Nika, you were mentioning something just a minute ago, which, I don't know why, I just never would have thought of it, is people are kind of, because your immune system is compromised because of it, and you can tell people about that. But we've kind of come into making things, this has caused us to make things better for you, hasn't it, in a way?
Yeah, in some ways, in the sense of, so because I have a kidney transplant, I have a compromised immune system because I take medications for that compromise my immune system. So I'm one of the high risk people, which is why I'm at home more than, and I will be for a while. But what I talk about a lot with other people and other people in the transplant community and things like that is this is very similar to what we have to do every flu season. And in general, I don't go around sick people. Even in my work, my clients know not to come in sick. When I go out, I take a lot of precaution, what I'm touching, clean my hands, sanitize my hands, come home, wash my hands, all those things. And what's so interesting now, that will stay in place for a while, people are wearing masks. Mm-hmm. Doctor's offices are limiting the number of patients that are coming in. They take your temperature when you come in. Stores, offices, everything, they're wiping down the screens that we touch, the common areas we touch. That's really nice. Because imagine how disgusting those things were this whole time that everybody touches. And so now I'm like, oh, like it actually lets me breathe just a little bit easier because It's not me being hypervigilant. People are actually paying attention. I can't tell you how many times over the years I just watch people just cough out into the air, into the world, not thinking about the people around them or not thinking about these things. And now people have some more awareness to what they're doing.
It's interesting. Just a couple thoughts I just had as you're going through and talking about that. There's a store here called Wegmans, great store, groceries and all that. So they're great. They're the only ones I know of. Now, there might be other ones doing it here, but if they are, I don't know about it. But when you go to the checkout line, you've got the 6-foot distance.
Right. Yeah.
But they're also wiping down the belt. You put your groceries on.
Yeah, great.
Between every customer. And it's so funny because the other thing I was thinking is I have been for as long as I can remember, the ATM machines. I'm always using like a door or something. Yeah. Door handles. I'll take and put my hand in my shirt or whatever, and I'll push it, and I'll do anything not to get my fingers. I'm sure I do other things unconsciously that are not consciously thinking that I do get my fingers messed up. But now, like credit card machines, I don't like it when you have to pick the credit or debit on the screen because somebody else, 50 other people touched it in an hour before you. And so, I'm like, but they're wiping them down now. And I think that's pretty good.
Right.
Makes me feel a little better.
Like I went to, because obviously not that many stores are open, but I went to Big Five the other day and I don't go out at all. Like I have my groceries delivered, everything, but I was like, I need to get just a couple more things for the apartment. And they had, they had not hand sanitizers, like a spray sanitizer and something. And in between every single person, they wiped down the table, they wiped down the credit card machine, the little pen. It was great. I mean, because those are the things people touch. Otherwise, you can get in and out of the store without touching a whole lot of stuff, but there are very specific common areas.
Yes.
And I hope that in a year, 2 years, whatever it is, when some of this eases, that some of these practices stay in place, because even if this eases, this is probably staying. And then we also still have the flu, and people die of the flu every year. So if we can limit those numbers a little bit, how great, just by being a little bit more aware and cautious. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's interesting because even at the gym where I work up at the university, I always wear gloves. Now, I just have to remember not to do, touch my
Right.
but I do it. I'm not really doing anything to, well, we do have these, whatever they are, these wipes. You pull them out of the thing and then you wipe down the equipment. I do it before and after for my people. But the gloves will spread things. But I don't know what it is. I don't like to touch the gym equipment myself with my hands. Because it's a university, and it's like literally 2,000 people per day go through that. Of course, it's closed for 2 months now, the past 2 months. But, it'll reopen at some point. And I think, this behavior that most of us are getting used to now, like it really taking things to another level to try not to spread germs or pick up germs. I hope it lasts too, because it probably is how we should have been all along anyways.
A little conscientious. I mean,
Sort of, right?
yeah, you think about in certain Asian countries, there a lot of people wear masks. It's part of the normal thing to do. Mostly, yes, I know because of the pollution and things like that, but also because they've had some of these viruses before.
Yes. And I've seen that because we have a large Asian student population on campus, and I mean for years masks are not on. It's not uncommon to see a mask. Let me ask you this: you're in the Los Angeles area. Have you noticed anything different about the atmosphere, smog, particularly, or pollution? Because what I'm hearing is, and I don't know if this is true, so I wanted to ask you. They're saying that some of the air pollution is down in the big cities because there are less people driving. Do you notice anything?
I believe that. The thing is, I haven't really been leaving my house that much.
Oh.
And so, I mean, I went the other day because I had to go, drive a little bit. And I do think that's true just from the things that you see. I live near the beach, so it's like right now we have fog and stuff in the morning, so it's harder to tell. And the nice thing was we had some rain in the first month of this in March. So we had rain, like consistent rain over a couple of weeks. And that was kind of really nice to clear the air and all that too. So that coupled with people staying home, a lot less driving. I mean, driving in LA right now is fantastic because nobody knows. I'm like,
that's what I've heard.
And I talk to my clients, who are in their 70s or whatever. They're like, yeah, I remember the days that it actually used to be like that. I'm like, I'm loving this right now. The other day, I was on R405, which is crazy normally. And it was so slow that there were two guys actually just jogging on the shoulder. And I'm like, that's a new thing.
That's interesting because I never knew the LA area very well. Then last year I spent time out there twice recording the CD I did that just came out, and I remember the 405. Yeah. Doesn't that go up towards Granada Hills, and then you branch off somewhere? Or yeah. So, anyways, I just remember being on that, and actually, it's interesting. I feel like the drivers in LA are much more they're friendlier than the Northeast drivers, especially New York City. But there's a lot of traffic. So yeah, I can't imagine jogging on the 405.
I mean, and I'm like, maybe their car was broken down, but they pretty much looked like they were in workout clothes. So I'm like,
And
that's
something.
I have one client that told me like a long time ago, she remembers when some of these freeways were being built and people used to kind of like walk over them. And so, I was like, wow, this is an interesting
man.
And,
wow. So, health-wise, how are you feeling?
No, I'm feeling good. I mean, when we last talked, I had mentioned that I was having the rejection episode.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing infusions for that. The kidney's been stable, which has been good. And that was actually even interesting too, because I was just there the other day again. And luckily it's part of Cedar's transplant team. Okay. But Cedar's transplant medical office is an entirely different building than the hospital, which is nice. But even like they're taking extra precautions. They're not having a lot of patients come in. The patients who do come in, you're taking your temperature on the ground floor. When you go upstairs, everybody has to wear a mask. No extra visitors, so just the patients. And they're staggering patients coming in, and
Yeah.
so they're taking all these precautions, which again makes me way more comfortable. I'm more comfortable now going to that doctor's office, than I was before this,
Yeah.
because I go there normally and it's a room full of immunocompromised patients, no mask, no nothing. And I'm like, well, I don't want, like, this does not feel great to me. So those are the types of things I talk about where I'm like, oh, in some ways, this is kind of nice in that sense, in the being more cautious and mindful sense.
Right, right. So the rejection episode, though, that's in the past now. You're good
Yeah.
with.
And yeah, everything's back to stable and things are good. And, obviously, just like anything else, it's one of the reasons I have to be careful, because I do have a compromised immune system. So I don't want to get anything or do anything that triggers anything in my system.
Can I ask, and if it's not overstepping my bounds, like when you go into a rejection, how do you know it's happening? Is there something? Do you
You don't.
feel something? You don't.
You don't. It's just blood tests. You
Oh,
really,
okay.
yeah, like unless it's just so far gone. And it's the same thing, and I might have mentioned this last time. It's the same thing like when you're initially diagnosed with kidney failure, you don't feel anything unless it's towards like the end stage.
I
You
see.
can be having severe diminished kidney function and feel perfectly normal, maybe a little tired if you're anemic or something. And it's the same thing with rejection. You
Hmm.
really don't, in general, don't feel a whole lot. It's just you see your numbers changing on your blood work and you're like, oh, okay, that's a sign. Let me go see what's happening.
What do they do for that in a case of a kidney? Like,
So I think it's
how do
similar
they
for some
do
other transplants too, but you do these blood tests. Now, depending on your hospital, if you have a consistent change in your function in the blood tests, they might go straight to a biopsy. What's so nice about being at Cedars is they're a little ahead of the curve, and there's some other hospitals that are like this too, is there's actually a blood test now called, the grouping of tests, I guess. It's called an AlloSure test. And it takes like 2 weeks to get back, but it shows specific antibody and inflammation markers that give you indication if you might be going into rejection. So they do that now before the biopsy to prevent any unneeded biopsies, which is nice because just like everything else, a biopsy, there's risk. So you want to mitigate
Yeah,
that.
it's invasive and there's risk. Interesting. Interesting. So you mentioned the word inflammation. That's another word going around before COVID, but now especially with it, because COVID seems to be bringing. In fact, I hope you don't mind me showing this because, but this guy here who wrote Spark and Go Wild, Dr. John Rady, um,
Mm-hmm.
and other books. He's a neuro psychiatrist in Harvard Medical School. Really cool. One of my favorite authors. We were talking last week, and he was talking about the many times with COVID, the extreme amount of inflammation
Yeah.
that is really raising like causing a lot of problems with people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can see, this is more just, well, we're having a conversation, man.
Totally.
We have no idea what we're going to talk about. I mean, we just decided, let's talk about COVID and immune system, and
See where it goes.
you had a kidney transplant. So, yeah, so well, I have no idea where this is going to go from here, but what I'm thinking out loud is that inflammation is a problem anyways for a lot of people, just when
It
they
is.
look at what kind of dietary lifestyle they have,
Well, and it's funny you said that too, because so I have a very strict diet for the most part between like, not necessarily the kidney right now, because when your kidney's functioning well enough, you don't really have dietary restrictions. It's only when you're really in failure. But I have a lot of gut issues and things like that that really restrict my diet. But the first 2 weeks of isolation, that's when everything was like, grocery stores are running out of things and all this. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to get whatever foods sound good. And I was eating so much junky comfort food. I mean, it tasted great. And in the moment, I was like, I haven't had this in years. But then I paid for it. Like I told you before we got on here, first couple of weeks, I felt great. The third week, I was kind of just getting anxiety. And looking back, I think it was that I was eating such crap that my body was just like, you can't do this anymore, because you had mentioned too, when you have anxiety, feeling better when exercising. And that's so true. For me, if I eat right and I exercise, I can, I feel pretty good most of the time. Even at my worst, I still feel good. But when I eat just junky, full of sugar, all kinds of things my body doesn't like, my mouth likes it, tastes great. My body doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Then I think it just really adds to that anxiety. Just things, you're adding inflammation, you're adding all these things to your system. It's going to show up in other ways. And I think that's what happened for sure the first couple of weeks of isolation. Is it's just like, I'm just going to eat what I want.
I can totally relate to the eating what you want. It's funny because I'm when we talked about this earlier too. So while COVID is a bad thing, right? I'm a believer that it's always beneficial anyways to look at the upshot that might come out of something, right? So many people are suffering, and whether it's their health or some people have passed away, and it's very, very sad, right? Over 60,000 people to date have passed away. Over 1 million people have been diagnosed with it.
Well, not just the United States, right?
Just the United States, yeah, thank you, yeah, just the United States. So, I mean, that's not good. However, keeping those people in mind out of respect, I also feel if I can do better myself, then I don't know, I can help other people better. That's always how I look at it. And so this downtime for me, I'm really enjoying it like a lot because I'm getting a lot done. I've been able to reevaluate what I'm doing, how I'm working, where I'm working, what do I want to do? What can I do differently? Not just work, my health, my workouts, but it still hasn't come completely without anxiety. Most of the time I'm fine. Last week though, I had about a 4-day crappy food binge.
Oh.
Probably put on 5 pounds, and I think some of that was just the sodium and retaining a lot of water because I eat crap. I eat things that I love,
What do you love?
I love chips, and I just eat it. And I know when I do it that I'm gonna feel crappy, except that they're so good. I think they put addictive stuff in those. They engineer it so you can't stop eating. I really believe this.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually a New York Times article on that back in around 2012 about Doritos, the way they design them. And the old commercials Jay Leno said, "Bet you can't eat just one." You can't. You got to eat the whole bag because it short circuits the hormone that says leptin, tells your brain your belly's full. When it shuts that off, you don't know you're full, so you keep eating.
Yep.
Just like a lot of the other foods out there with especially fake sugars and all the chemicals.
Yep.
But I just had to go clean, and I'm back now. Actually today I feel the best I've felt since the binge.
So for you, how'd you get yourself to do it? Like, I know, because I had to do the same thing, but like, there's a lot of, and I think people need to be kind to themselves in this time because there is a lot of pressures and different things that people be like, you should be using this time to better yourself and do that. And like, yes, for you, for me, a lot of that rings true because we can be in a place that we have that space to do that. There's other people that, live paycheck to paycheck and they're just stressed out about how they're going to pay their bills and get food on the table or they have children and they have all these other things. But there are real things to be said about, okay, well, with what is in your control, if you notice I'm eating a bunch of junk, this doesn't make me feel good. It might just be a temporary replacement. Like what changed for you to help you go from eating a bunch of junk to I'm just going to eat clean?
Well, good question. So a couple things happened. One of them was many years ago before I got into this business. I weighed close to 300 pounds. Right now I weigh about 218, 219. I'm 6'2", so I should not weigh 300 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Since I actually saw you in person, I'm 20 pounds heavier than I was, probably 18. But a lot of that was the travel, and I'd been last year about in the 230s, which is horrible. But bottom line, first thing is I didn't want to go back to being that way because once I start gaining weight, it's almost like it's exponential, and I can just put it on quick, like compounding interest. Compounding pounds. But the other thing is I didn't feel good. I wasn't mentally nearly as focused, and I'm finished writing this darn book that's taken me forever, but actually, really, honest to God, I swear, I'm almost done. For those who already ordered, like 300 people who have been waiting for 2 years. Oh my God. So I'm sorry. I was talking to Perry Nicholson the other day, just on a chat, actually. He's writing a book too. I'm gonna have mine out before he has his out. He's like, how the hell do I do this? Because
Yeah,
it's
can't imagine.
daunting task, but also really good. But anyways, bottom line is I couldn't think clearly enough. I was sleepy, and my face was like round,
Hmm.
because I think just a lot of it was sodium.
Sodium, yep.
I drink a lot of water every day, like a lot. I mean, at minimum a gallon, right? So I mean, when more of that stays with you, you just get puffy, and my clothes don't fit right. And I got sick of feeling well when I got to a point where my clothes didn't had a certain feel to them when I put them on. I'm like, okay, this is stupid. Plus, I could look at the scale, and that
Right.
tells me a lot right there. And granted, a lot of that probably is water weight, but not all of it. Some of it was weight. So
Yep.
that turned me around. Just one morning, I'm like, I had enough of this. I
Yeah.
got to stop.
Yeah.
Felt good when I was doing it, though, sort of.
Sort of. I know, right? It's that trade-off. Like mentally, like, oh, I love the taste of it. Like I miss this food. It tastes so good. But
Yeah.
then the feeling of being lethargic and all not having the mental focus and just feeling a little, more run down. You're always weighing those two things.
Yeah, totally. The struggle is real. I'll just say that the struggle is real when it occurs for me. But these days, I'm not going to go off on a binge for 6 months. I have a 2, 3 days, whatever, and then I'm done.
Yeah.
And I'm coming into summertime here too. I mean, we're finally getting days that are like 60 degrees, and the leaves are just starting to bud on the trees. I need to be out and moving, doing my favorite stuff outside, and I can't do it when I weigh too much. I don't do it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I believe
So
that.
yeah, around 205, 210 pounds, I float everywhere, and that's my ideal weight. So, in fact, I have it on my birthday's June 5th, so it's 36 days till my birthday, and it's 36 days until I hit. It says 210 pounds there. I
Okay.
can't see it, but right, 36 days, 210 pounds. So I've got some work to do, but I can do it. I've done it before. It's not all about the weight. It's where it resides in my body, but it's also how I feel.
And I think that's the biggest thing. And I think that's the discussion a lot of people don't have enough of. Like the scale, doesn't really matter. Like I don't really care about the scale. I
Yeah.
care about what I'm able to do. I
Yeah.
care about how I like, because I'm also an asthmatic. So again, one more reason COVID-19 isn't so great for me. But I care about like, can I get some endurance in something? Can I do exercises? Do I feel strength in my workouts? How does my body feel? I don't care if I carry some extra weight, if I'm feeling strong and I'm feeling healthy and all those markers, are there, but I can be, and I've been 199 pounds before and I was so weak. Like I don't like that feeling. Like it's, I'll fluctuate in weight and whatever. And that's fine because it's how do you feel in your body? Do you feel strong? Do you feel healthy? Do you feel like you can go hike? Do you feel like you can do activities? Or does everything you do keep you winded and you're unable to do these things?
Exactly. There was a point where I was around 195. So I very first started teaching for Dr. Emily, and you know what? It wasn't heavy enough. I didn't feel good.
Interesting.
Yeah. So when I got up in the 203 to 205 range, I think I gained muscle is
Yeah.
what it was, and that worked.
Yeah.
210 was fine too, but I had enough strength and muscle on. Just it was the right weight for me. I mean, a lot of times, you know how they are and I don't mean this disrespectfully to doctors or anyone, but a lot of times I'm not sure they really understand this whole aspect of how you feel and all that. And they'll say, well, your BMI.
I know we've had a whole discussion about that too.
Yeah, that's just like this, throw that one out the window because the Rock is obese. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
All right. Isn't that crazy?
If they go by BMI, the Rock is obese. I don't think so. So, anyways, uh, I was I just couldn't listen because they wanted me to be like 190. I'm like, oh my God, I can't do that. I feel like a horrible. So I think, like you said, we need to listen to our bodies. It's very, very important.
Yep.
How I know that when I'm at my ideal weight, everything works better.
Yeah.
Just everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a matter of, and obviously it's having a certain amount of muscle in your body and things like that, whether it doesn't matter what that weight is, but it's, you build muscle by doing strength work and all the other thing, and you build endurance with these other exercises. And it's, where is that point that you feel this balance where like, I have energy, I can move, I can do these things. It might be at a higher weight than, especially for women, because women get so afraid of the scale and the number. It might actually be at a higher weight than they think it's going to be. And they've just never been there. For me, it's like, I'm in a process of like gaining muscle and gaining some weight. And I've never actually held at the numbers I'm at right now. And I'm fine with it because I feel stronger. I'm lifting weight. I love that feeling. I don't care that the number goes up. I want the number to go up. If it means I'm getting stronger and I'm building muscle, great. That's amazing. And I get to eat more food. That's like a win, but it has to be super healthy. But
What's funny, I used to say to clients, but I had to add on to what I say, and I'm always changing stuff as I learn more. But it's like what you weigh isn't nearly as important as where the weight resides in your body. Plus, I added on now, like, and how you feel.
Yes.
That's very important. Yeah. So I was in Florida. Well, I go there every year, but there was this one place I went to visit a gym where a friend of mine is a trainer in the Sarasota area. So we walk in and they actually had this model. You've probably seen these here and there or online or whatever, but they had this model of like 5 pounds of, no, I'm sorry, a pound of fat.
Yeah.
This big. A pound of muscle was like this big. They each weighed a pound.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, fat cells actually, you're born with you have a certain number of them, and you can get more, but typically when people gain weight, their cells increase in size. It's usually the obese or morbidly obese, they may split, so you have more cells, and then it gets to be a real problem. But so, I mean, these cells here are muscle. They can get bigger with tearing them down and building them up, build up. So they might get a little bigger, but then they're also going to get heavier. But this here, those cells just get bigger. So it's amazing how much space a pound of fat takes up compared to a pound of muscle. And that one really hit me too. I mean, I kind of knew it, but to see that was really cool.
Well, and I think that visual is so helpful because so many people have heard the saying muscle weighs more than fat. And I think that's where that visual helps. Like, no, muscle doesn't actually weigh more than fat. Pound for pound, a pound's a pound. It's the same. It's just fat takes up so much more space. So the amount of muscle it would take to take up the same amount of space is more. So that's the differentiation. And I think that visual is really helpful because there are people, and people post this online now, and I'm so happy that they do, is they'll take a picture of themselves 1 year and a picture like 2 years later. They weigh the exact same, but they look smaller potentially, or they weigh more and they look smaller in the later picture. They weigh more and they have way more muscle on them.
Redistribution.
Yeah. You can't tell by looking at somebody, you don't know, but it's so interesting to see how the body changes with those things. And, I think the one nice thing potentially, hopefully maybe, that might come out of the situation we're in right now is I think I know this to be true for myself. I think we appreciate things more when we don't have them, right? So people are now realizing, oh, I can't go hiking. I really want to go hiking. I can't go to the beach. I really want to go to the beach and be active and be outside and do things outside. So I'm hoping that post-COVID-19, whatever that looks like, it involves people being like, I want to be outside. I want to be active. I realize the importance of being able to have that because I think we take certain things for granted. Like I know I have, like just the idea of the proximity to things and being able to move like that.
Me too. I mean, yeah, totally. I've taken things for granted without even the idea that I could have been taking them for granted.
Right?
Until I found out I was.
Who would have ever thought we couldn't go hiking?
Yeah. We can't go to the gym.
Right.
I just never thought that a university, I'll tell you something, I never thought a university would just shut down classes. Right. And when they decided to do it, we were one of the first ones. I'm like, well, I mean, it's nice they're taking exercising concern.
Yep.
And then, within a week, everybody was shutting down. And my daughter's a school teacher, and she's teaching her classes online. School is shut down. When has that ever happened?
I know.
In my lifetime. So this is something that, you Yeah, I know. Yeah, I appreciate things more for sure.
Yeah. And it's really interesting. I mean, and the other nice thing I think is twofold is you've had a lot of people for many years thinking, oh, technology's gotten out of hand. Oh, people spend too much time with technology. This can't be good for us. Da, da. But look at how much we're relying on technology now and what it's doing to keep us connected. People are already having a hard time with this. Imagine if we weren't in this time where we have this much technology and we can stay this connected with other people. It really has a place that I think we can appreciate more than ever as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. So a couple of friends of mine who do workshops just started doing live streaming through whatever, Zoom, actually. I think they're both using. And so I was talking with somebody yesterday saying, I don't know if pre-COVID people would have thought about attending a workshop on Zoom and
Right.
paying money when they would normally go to it physically and be there in the room with other people. However, right now, people are going to workshops. I mean, not to promote myself, but we are going to start doing that. We're going to start offering live streaming because why not? I need to get out there and educate and help. There are people who want it, but now I'm not restricted to one area or demographic. I mean, it could be anybody in the world if they want to sign up for that day. If they're over in Europe, they might have to get up, stay up late. I
Right.
mean, I don't know, but it's interesting, and it's actually been working well because technology, like with Zoom, you can add breakout rooms, right? You can
Okay, so you know
do a
that.
breakout, so you can send people, and then the instructor can go and visit the rooms and help out and watch.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's really cool. It's like having little rooms in a place, and you say, okay, I'm gonna go over here for a minute. I'll be back. But oh yeah, well try this, try that. Okay. Oh, nice job. I love that. Oh wow.
That's
So
so
yeah, you can go and you can do that. I'm like, so Mike Fitch from Animal Flow the other day was saying he's done 4 now himself. Now his instructors, a couple of his instructors are going to start doing. He says actually in some ways, although the live experience he really prefers, it is almost more beneficial because of the ability to switch quickly and do things. And I don't know. I'd have to listen back to what he said exactly, but maybe post COVID, we can still do that, and I can sit in this room and not on an airplane.
I mean, I think that's really real though, because post COVID isn't necessarily no COVID. And I think people are going to be a lot more cautious and conscientious
Yeah.
about travel and things like that. And, I think there is going to be a huge influx too, though, of people just so badly wanting whatever normal is, going back to what feels normal. But then there's people who are going to be more aware. And because these offerings are going to be more out there and available and people have now gotten used to them, it'll be like, oh, why not? I'll just do the Zoom class instead. I don't have to go travel and pay for a hotel and all that. I mean, because we both done it, like traveling all over the United States or over the world to take a workshop and all the, expenses associated with that. And I think a lot of these things will stay in varying degrees. And I think that's just even better. More educational opportunities for people, more access. How great.
Yeah, and you could even do. I could see down the road maybe where those who really want the live experience, you could probably do a hybrid version of it too, where the instructor is zoomed in on a screen and there might be a person there from the team for hands-on stuff, and then having people online doing it while there's people in a place doing it
Yep.
at the
I think
same
that's very
time.
cool.
So it's pretty interesting. Yeah.
I have to do something similar even when it comes to schooling. They might have to, I mean, because what schools are going to look like coming back, they're not going to be able to have all the people in one classroom. They're going to have to stagger, do something. It might be a hybrid of some people in the class, some people, and then doing Zoom, and then other people come in class the next day. Other people, who knows what,
Yeah.
that could be a real possibility.
So speaking of online, tell us about what you're doing right now, please.
It's actually been, I did it just right away because once I knew we were going to be home, which was just in a few days, I was like, okay, I'm just going to do daily workout classes for my clients and for anybody who wants them. And it was twofold. It's been very beneficial for me because I'm somebody who does really well with a schedule. I need something on my calendar or I'm not getting out of bed. Like I know who I am. I'm not going to pretend. I'm going to lay in bed, listen to music, play around on the internet. And it's amazing, by the way, how quickly you can lose an entire day just playing around on the internet.
Oh gosh, I know. Yeah.
So A, it's been nice to have a schedule and I get up and make my body move. And B, it's been really well received by my clients and their friends and other people, just doing a workout class almost every day online, doing it for free and making it really accessible. And then hoping to, starting in a couple weeks, the episode that I had you on is going to come up too, but starting up with the podcast again and really taking the time to think about what I want to do within that space, within the chronic illness community and all that. Because even a good bulk of my clientele are people who are older, who have had chronic illnesses, who have chronic illnesses, all of that kind of stuff. And so it all, fits in. And I really do want to help people with chronic illness feel empowered. People who, even, and in this situation, we were talking about it before this, about, there's a lot of people I talk to in transplant groups that are like, when will you feel safe being out in the world again? It's like, our risk is always there. I don't think it's beneficial to live a fear-based life. Right. I do think it's looking at mitigating risks, having some, because you can do everything right and still get super sick, no matter what it is. It's, you might not get this thing, but you're going to get this other thing. And so it's mitigating those risks and really helping people feel empowered to look at life and be like, okay, what can I control? Let's do that. What can I learn? What can I be proactive about? Let's do that. And then maybe let's let go of some of the stuff that holds us back. And, because now that you are empowered with knowledge, you feel a little bit more grounded. And you're such a good example of that. I was going to say, when you got those books, the amount of books you read always amazes me. Like, I think you need to just put together this book list. And I'm like, I'm just going to go down the list because you read so many books. It's so amazing. And that's definitely one of my goals.
Well, yeah, I do that. I have a list on my neuromotortraining.com website, but it's only about 10% of what I've read the past couple of years. But there's probably about 20 books on there that I really, really like. I'm an audio learner. So if I really like a book, I buy the hard copy and I have the audio.
Yeah.
So I have quite a few of those, but 25, 30 hard copies. But the two apps I like are Audible.
Yep.
Probably about 100 books there. And then there's another one called Scribd, SCRIBD.
Okay.
And I think it's $12.99 a month. It's not any more than that. It might be $10.99 a month. I don't know. And then if the book you want is on there, you just download it.
Oh, great.
So I've downloaded like 5 in the past month. So it costs like $2 or $3 a book.
That's great.
Yeah, it's really cool. And there are a lot of really good books on there. So like the newer books or some of the best sellers, especially if they're newer, they're usually not on there. So I just found out about it from my son about a month ago. So, but it's a great way to get a lot of books and not have to pay a lot of money. And then I'm not cheap, but at the same time, I do buy a lot of books.
Yeah, and that adds up.
I want to support the authors because I'm writing a book too, and I want people to buy it because I doubt I'll ever make a ton of money at it. And it's not even about that. But if that was my living, being an author, I can't imagine, you have to be damn good and sell a lot.
Yes. And it depends on how you publish and how much the publishers take and everything, all the other factors into it.
Well, it's an interesting time. I find, especially during this time, I've been reading more. Of course, a lot of reading I've been doing kind of correlates with writing I'm doing. So it's research, but it's also learning. So I can try new things with my clients, myself. Diet's been a big thing for me to dial in on where I want to be with that. It's the 3 different pathways that have worked really well for me. And right now, the one I'm on, because I was having so back in, December 16th last year, so a little over 4 months ago, I had a hip replacement and it's unbelievably good. Like, I am moving so extremely well now. I can't believe it. But I'd also been having joint pain all over my body. I have arthritis pretty much all on the right side, shoulder, that hip, which is now replaced, knee. elbow. So it was hurting really bad all the time, chronic. And that was almost to the point of going to a rheumatologist, But then instead of taking and doing that, my son's a doctor. He's the one who said you might want to consider that. So I'm going to try one more thing. I'm going to eat 100% anti-inflammatory foods.
Okay.
Oh, within a week, no pain.
And what does that include? Like, what's the anti-inflammatory foods?
Well, when I first started doing it, I really didn't know. There are things that I thought would be inflammatory that aren't, and then the opposite. So this isn't the best app in the world, but it's not a bad one either. It's called Inflammation Tracker, IF Tracker.
Okay.
So if you go to search, and then put in your food. Let's just say you want, what's a food? Chicken. Let's just say somebody wants chicken, because a lot of people eat chicken. Well, it's going to bring up a lot of different things. Like, first of all, sorry, Applebee's, if you're watching, it's just, it is what it is. I don't go to Applebee's. I haven't been there in like 30 years, but Applebee's chicken tenders, negative $2.99. So what negative means is it's way to the left. It's way in the red, and it's very inflammatory.
Right.
Okay. However, if you go to chicken breast barbecued, it's almost zero. It's -1. So it's not really even inflammatory, right?
It's kind of neutral.
It's really good. Chicken breast rotisserie is actually, I'm not going to say it's anti-inflammatory, but it's a positive number, and positive numbers go into the anti-inflammatory. Let's take salmon. Salmon, which I started eating again, but I just thought, like, fish is gross. I just hate how it looks, but I cooked it and it was really good. And I had the Atlantic farmed. So I mean, this one's off the charts anti-inflammatory. It's 852, and the chart only goes to 300. So I would put in the food that I was thinking about and see where it falls on the index, and only eat from those the blue.
How interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that.
And I'm telling you, man, I'm 59. Really soon I'll be 59, and I have less joint pain now than I've had probably in like 15 years.
Not many people.
I don't have any. Actually, I don't have any. Seriously, I did last week though. I tell you, when I went on the binge, literally eating Doritos, because I ate 2 little bags.
Oh, so you're better than me. I get like a big bag. I go all in.
Well, I would eat that whole thing. Yeah, I had those. I had Reese's peanut butter cups.
Oh, so good.
Tostitos with, that I ate the whole bag of Tostitos. But I had joint pain.
Yep, I believe it.
They're very inflammatory.
How long did it take for it to clear up?
Oh, this time around, I think I was like 3-4 days in, no pain. And today, I mean, I have absolutely zero today. This is 5 days, I think, in to clean up my act. Yeah, it was Saturday was my last day of eating crappy, and today's Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So funny. That's so good, though.
Oh yeah, and I had the other day, Saturday, I had 2, not 1, but the thick, not the thin, the thick, long. There's a name for it. It's really funny too. It's like something like ass flaming hot Slim Jims or something like that. I mean, and I love Slim Jims that are, because I love extreme spice.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Because the sodium is so much, but they tasted so good, and I think they put stuff in to make you want more. So I had 2 at 1, because I knew if I bought 1, I'd want to drive back and get another one at the next store. Done. Can't do that again for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, right? Like, it's just like anything else. Like, I like to say, like, most of the time I'm going to eat pretty healthy. And especially with my gut issues, like, I've learned as long as basically 95% of the time I'm good.
Yeah.
Once every couple of weeks, I can have one of something that I know my body may not love, but if it's something I'm craving, because I think that's exactly what happens, that if you just say, I'm never going to have whatever, then you go on like a 4-day binge, and it's hard. But if you just get the taste of something, half the time it doesn't taste as good as you think it's going to taste if you've been eating clean. but it's just the taste and satisfying just a little bit of that, at least for me.
Yeah.
That can be enough if I know I'm going to allow myself. Because the other thing that happens, I think, mentally is if you're like, I can never ever have this, then when you do have that little bit, you end up having a lot because you think it's going to be the last time you're ever having it, versus being like, I'm going to have it when I want. I'm going to have a little bit. Who cares?
Yeah, you're right. Totally. I actually tell people, my clients, you got to pick a day and just eat something that day. Have it be your cheat day. Just do it. Because if you allow yourself that, you're going to feel a lot better in a lot of ways. You're less stress on you for having to be always eating clean all the time or whatever. Also know, one bad meal or one bad day every now and then isn't going to make you, let's say, unhealthy or over.
Oh.
But if you're always eating that way and then you have one good day, that's not going to make you healthy. So or optimal weight. So yeah, I believe in cheating here and there. I just think it's good for us psychologically.
Like, I just don't think it's all moderation. And we've talked about this before. It's, again, and it's the same thing we're talking about, like with your weight and with your body. It's what's that fine balance that works for your body? A little bit of something that's not so great for you here or there probably does some good for you, because you don't feel so locked down. If you're somebody that has a really hard time with being like, I'm going to eat super clean, I'm going to do all these things, or you have a lot of functions to go to and business meetings, and because that's true for a lot of people, they're out with colleagues and it's a work thing, and there's a lot of different variables, and so everyone has to find what that balance means in their life.
Absolutely. Just having a thought here. So if you don't mind me asking, when was your kidney transplant?
May 7th, 2007.
Okay. And we were talking also before we started recording about the transplant games.
Yes.
This year, 2020, now officially have been postponed till next year, but
no, it's going to be in July.
Supposed to be in New Jersey.
Yep.
And I was going to go because my friend, Emily, who I was telling you about, she's had the heart and the kidney transplant. And so, yeah, I've had cornea transplants. I just really didn't even, like I said, I didn't even think.
You never told me.
Does it really count? I mean, it's just a cornea, but she says it does. So, yes. Yeah, corneas can reject. My first one didn't reject, but it failed quickly. So the second one in the same eye, the right eye, that's plastic fixed focus lens that's carried by donor tissue cornea, and that was April 16th, 2006. So it's been a while. The other one before that was donor tissue only, but the disease I have entered that and it got all cloudy and I couldn't see. So like if you look at my eyes, this eye may or may not look really weird and foggy. Healthy eye, but I only see light and dark. I don't really see anything else. So this is like my eye bank.
Okay.
I could go and get a transplant, but then the clock starts ticking and I just want to wait until I really have to have it. So,
right.
But the transplant games would be, I've never been to that and I really want to go.
I really wanted to go. And they actually have, so that's the one, like the transplant games is the United States one. They actually have a world transplant games that's in like different countries. It was going to be in like, I think they thought it this year was in Canada or something. There's a whole other one too. I'm like, okay, this is something I really want to be a part of moving forward, because I think it's so cool. And I think it's anytime you can get with a community, I think it's beneficial. So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully it does happen next year. And I think it would be really neat to go to and see and be a part of.
Yeah. Emily went to the one in Salt Lake City 2 years ago. And it was like 6 days, I think. And they had a great time. And they did so many different things from, from dart throwing to all kinds of other sports and activities. So in teams, really cool. So hopefully next year you'll be teaching a workshop there, or she'll attend, or parents be like, I'll be there, you'll be there. That'd be fun. So what's on your looking forward? Mm-hmm. Any thoughts, any plans, any revelations in this downtime about how you might be moving forward? And maybe nothing has changed, but what does it look like for you moving forward with your business and things like that?
So I think for me, so the thing that I did that was probably one of my best decisions that I'd already done. So you remember, like I had my own Pilates studio for several years.
Yes.
At that time, especially, I was working like 6 days a week. I was working 12 hours a day. I was just exhausted. It was good. It was a good experience, but there was a lot of things that didn't quite work for what I was trying to do. And after I gave that up, I went on a huge vacation and traveled the world and came back. And I was like, okay, what do I want my life to look like? What do I want this to look like? And that's when I had cut back to working just 2 days a week, 2 12-hour days, which for me is fine because just like, like working 2 hours versus 12 hours and teaching, it's not that different because you put in so much energy with your clients and who you are that I like just doing the 12 hours. I love seeing my clients, and I got to see a couple of them over the past week with social distancing and masks and everything. But it was just so nice. I realized how much I missed that. I miss that in-person communication. I miss my clients. I love seeing them. So definitely going back to the 2 days a week of that, which I'll love, and with whatever precautions we have to take, but then really realizing because I'm somebody who's always had a hard time with like the social media thing. I'm like, who cares about my life? Who wants to hear me talk? Whatever. But really realizing now more than ever how much the community in digital matters and people feel connected and what that does. So really branching out with the podcast and creating community for people with chronic illness and focusing on what you can make of your life with your chronic illness, because there's already plenty out there that's more about, I don't want to say just negativity. People need an outlet and all of that. And it's a good place for people to come and feel heard. But there's not a lot out there about, okay, but now what? How do I still live a full, fruitful, happy life with whatever my chronic illness is and not stay stuck? And that's really where I want to focus my energy, because life is short and we're learning that more. And I think that's where a lot of the anxiety comes right now. We're learning that even more now. So it's, how do we make the most of what we have, regardless of our circumstance?
That's so profound in my opinion, because well, I'll just say this. I think your podcast, do it and stick with it, because you'll gain more and more people listening, especially when you have the type of like the intention that you do behind it. People know you care and you're trying to spread a message that's very important. And I know, it's so funny. I started doing interviews 6 years ago in June. And I think Dr. Emily might have been my third interview.
Right.
I was really nervous when I met her. It was like, if you look at that interview, I was almost paralyzed. Like, and this is Dr. Emily Swick. Because, well, whatever, I don't know. But I didn't know, I only knew one thing. I wanted to get in front of experts. I want to learn and figure, well, I don't know if I can take people out to like coffee or lunch and they're not going to take me seriously. You don't have time for that, but be a guest on something that we'll share. Oh yeah, like hardly anybody ever says no. And if they do, they don't have time. That actually has led to so much for me. Like the whole teaching thing came out of that, and traveling, my own program came out of that. But those are in the past. The program will continue, but it'll be more of an online format, and I have instructors who can go out and do stuff when the time comes. But like you're saying, making the most of your life, having a community, I think it's really important. I'm not sure where I'm at exactly right now in my life with that, but it's do your podcast, just do it and get it out there, because I really think it helps to lead to things that actually can help you lead and direct and mold your pathway.
Right. No, I believe that.
I think it just really, I can't even, it's not like I did research on it. I don't even know. I really think, though, it has to do a lot of the feedback you get. And then all of a sudden, bing, oh, I can do that. Oh, I want to do that. Oh, let's take that pathway, whatever it is.
That's so interesting. Yeah. And I mean, I really think, especially now more than ever, when people can see and people have a visual and people hear others talking about, these were my obstacles, but here's what I did. Here's what I can do. And not discounting, there's a lot of stuff that's awful. there's a lot of stuff that really sucks. And so you have to talk about that. You can't just shove it to the side and pretend everything's great and life's awesome. And now there's a lot of stuff that really sucks. Like, it's not fun. Talk about it, deal with it, but don't just like hold on to just that. And I think, those are the things. And I think this time, at least for me, is like, okay, what are the things I really love? Like, and I already knew, but I really do love seeing my clients. Like, I really do enjoy, and I'm in a very fortunate position that I only see clients I like. Like, I don't see people I don't like. So that also helps.
Me too. I mean, these days, I'll fire them.
It would be both.
I've done it a couple times recently. Give it to somebody else.
Yeah.
That's really important too. I mean, yeah, I enjoy mine too, very, very much.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah. No, so it's nice. And I think, and maybe that's something else that can come out of this for a lot of people is recognizing, because I think some of the struggle many might have had initially or still in being in isolation is, especially if you're alone or whatever and don't have distractions, is you kind of got to deal with yourself in a way you haven't had to deal with yourself before. And maybe that leads to some reflection of what brings me joy, what doesn't. And you'll notice, like, when the world opens up a little bit more, you might go back to the same thing and be like, why am I still miserable? Maybe you never really liked that thing. Maybe it's some insight into, this might need to change. I don't enjoy this. I thought I did, but maybe I don't. And you have permission to explore and change and see what that brings you.
These times, the trying times, are where, well, it's very cliche. It's true though. Leaders are born and new pathways are made. Mm-hmm. Not that I need to be a leader, but at least having the fortune to truly get a little bit introspective and really start to reassess some things, and that is happening, and I'm enjoying it. Because these days I kind of know who I am. I didn't though. I'm a late bloomer at everything I've ever done. I'm a very slow learner, very slow, terribly slow reader. That's why I go audio. But I think when I was like 52, I finally figured out what I want to be when I grow up. I was already a trainer, but I wanted to focus more in a certain area. And then I don't know, some of us never come to terms with who we are, and I'm glad that I have, and I'm happy with adjustments that I've made. But I just feel like there's it's never been about me. I always think it's like about we, as people in this world who it's about the other people. I mean, I have to take care of myself, yes, or I can't. The less I take care of me, the less I can do for others. The more I can do and take care of me, the more I learn, the better I be, healthier I am. I can do more for others. It's not about me, it's about we. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how to do it. I know these online workshops are going to be one of the things, though.
Right.
It's deeper that way. And I think now they'll be more accepted, whereas before, nobody really did that. A 2-day workshops like that, no, you go to the workshop. Now I think it's going to be different.
Yeah. Well, and also because the workshops before, and there were some, and I've done a couple here and there, but it's all pre-recorded. And that's also a different feel versus like, I can do a live Zoom workshop. That's a very different thing to me, where you have that real-time feedback than just doing a pre-recorded thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. Instead of setting out pre-recorded stuff or having to do that, you are interacting. I might put everyone on mute for 45 minutes, but then we want you to have questions. Maybe I'll have a scroll bar of questions, or we have conversations real time. We'll do activities. I think this is a thing. It's because it's going to accomplish what I want, which is staying home. I'm totally into this, man. I'm going to travel at some point. I'll travel somewhere, but I have no intention to go anywhere very soon.
I don't think many of us do. I mean, and I'm bummed because I had a trip planned to Costa Rica for my birthday in April, but I love Costa Rica, and and it's obviously, you get the credit. So I'm definitely going to go again by next year. But, and like, I love to travel. I was going on cruises and doing all that other stuff. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be flying anywhere anytime soon. I think it's going to be back to the road trip. I think that's what's coming back, is more road trips.
What is your birth date?
April 16th.
Okay. My son's the 14th. So I can remember yours easy now. It's just 2 days difference. Well, happy birthday, belated.
Thank you.
2 weeks late, 3 weeks late. Yeah. Um, well, cool. So let me ask you this, because we didn't talk about anything we didn't make any plans. As we wind towards closing,
Mm-hmm.
do you have any takeaway message for people? Any words of wisdom, any advice you'd like to share, especially in this time right now? Lockdown, pandemic, people being alone, people being isolated, maybe people being anxious. There is a lot of anxiety and stress right now. Any takeaway message?
Yeah, I think it's twofold. I think being in this time, people are hyper aware of their surroundings, obviously, right? And I think it's a time to really maybe break out of our shells of feeling like we have to do everything by ourselves because we're realizing the need for others, right? And so maybe reach out more, create that community, find people that you can feel like-minded with, that lift you up, that bring you energy, that you have all of that feedback, whether it's digital. They don't have to live in the same country as you. It can be a state away, a country away. You never know. I think that's the most amazing thing about right now is we're realizing how big our world is, because this is something that's happening on a world scale. And so our options are limitless in this world. And so maybe after this, take away that you don't have to limit yourself. Anything is possible. You can reach out to anybody. You can create any community, create the life and the community that you want, and find what that is. Don't settle for something that doesn't bring you joy. Don't settle for the surroundings that you're not happy with. Find a way, make a choice, find a way, do what you want to do with your life, because we didn't think this was going to happen. We didn't know we were going to be here, but now we are. And people have lost their lives. And those are 60,000 plus people in the United States alone. I forget how many worldwide that didn't think this day was going to come, didn't know this day was going to come. So choose what you want to do with your day, choose what you want to do with your life, and make it meaningful to you. Screw what everybody else thinks. Tell that, like, they don't matter. Like, it's your life, it's your joy. It's, those are the things that I hope people take away is this is your time to, I mean, you have your stresses and all of that, but post COVID-19, it's what do I want my life to look like? It might be a struggle for a lot of us because we've been out of work and all of that. But at some point, we're going to get back in the groove. We're going to get past this. And what do you want that to look like? Put it in your mind.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Thank you.
Especially because life is really short,
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes have this thing, it's like what do they call it? I think Tony Robbins calls it the rocking chair test or something. You're sitting in your rocking chair, you're 85 years old, you're on your front porch, and you look back and say, how many things would you say I woulda, shoulda, coulda, but I didn't? And I know that's good advice, but there's fear and anxiety that comes along with a lot of these things. But I think that for me, the biggest fear was what other people would think.
Yep.
And it was the people closest to me. When I switched careers, that was a big deal. I do different things. It can be a big deal, but I think if you go into it, what the way that's right for you, and if you have family or whatever works for them too, then
right.
If you're passionate about it, there's a lot that goes along with being passionate.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, having focus needs to accompany it, or you could be passionately wandering. But
right.
yeah, life is short. It's just too damn short. I can't even believe it. 59. Yep. I feel better as I get older, though. But
that's a good thing. Not many people can say that.
Yeah, I mean, cripes, 20 years ago I was 39. I remember it very well. In 20 years I'll be 79. So, holy shit! Come on, man. Are you kidding me? But yeah, I mean, whatever. I gotta. Every day counts. Everything counts.
Everything counts. And sometimes that day might be what counts for me today is to lay in bed, watch TV, zone out, and let my body recover because I'm not dealing with anything. And I've had those days, and I love those days. And you just give yourself permission. I'm like, nope. I mean, sometimes my body tells me this is what you're doing today because I've just pushed it. But there's days I'm like, yeah, no, today I'm just staying in bed. I don't even care. Yeah. And then that energizes me. So the rest of the week, I can go out and do my thing. And it's allowing all of that for yourself.
It is. Taking time for you is very important. I remember last week I was feeling this enormous amount of pressure to finish my book. And I've been almost done for quite a while, like all the month of April. It's just that the last 1% is the hardest. I'm tying in a lot of things. So I was feeling guilty for a minute about not writing at all 2 days in a row last week. And I actually just did, other than a few clients online, I had a lot of free time and I did what I wanted. I didn't write, I barely checked my phone for messages.
Good.
And man, when I got back to writing like Thursday last week, I killed it.
Okay.
Killed it. I got more done on Thursday than I probably had done in 2 weeks before that.
Yep.
And I took yesterday off, and I'm taking today off from writing. Tomorrow, I'm going to crush it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that, because I think what happens, and this is a whole other discussion for another time, but starting with our school systems and other things, is you're taught a very certain thing, like you have to be this regimented, you have to do this, you have to do that. But I think we have, for some of us, and some people are really good with regiment and like really staying with something. I'm not. It's when I get my creativity or whatever. And I'm one of those people, that's why I asked you this early. Like, I'm really good early in the morning. I'm really good late at night, in the middle of the day. That's when I like to run errands and rest. But it's really being like, okay, let me just go with this creative burst. And then when it's not there, I'm not going to force it. I'm going to do other things that feed me in other ways. I'm going to work out a little bit more. I might go check out a restaurant right now. It might be takeout, but I'm going to go listen to a book today. I'm going to, whatever that is, and take my mind completely off of this. And then in a couple of days, you have this renewed energy to put into that project that you might not have had. You might have been stuck for 2 weeks as you tried to force it.
Yeah, it just made me think of, I've been to Mexico a lot. I think it's 8 trips or something in the past 2 years, at least 7 trips. And every time I'd be there for, 5 to 8 or 9 days, different cities. And usually I was working in a PT clinic and we were doing a lot of work with people with Parkinson's.
Mm-hmm.
What's so cool is like, you don't start work until 9 in the morning, and at 1 you're done.
That's nice.
And then there's a siesta. So you go and you eat, and you might have a drink or go home, take a nap, work from 4 to 9, then go out or have dinner at home or wherever.
Right.
And the pressure was off. It was so cool. We worked hard.
Yeah.
But it's 4 hours and then 4 or 5 more hours with a 3-hour siesta in the middle, and running errands, sleeping, and eating.
Whatever you need to do.
And the businesses are closed. A lot of them. There's closed from 1 to 4.
Totally, and that's in a lot of places. And and that's something, especially in the U.S., we're just so used to. You always have to be on. People don't get vacations. People don't get these things. They don't know, because they don't get this downtime. We're not taught that we can have that and be productive and be successful. And instead we just burn ourselves out.
Yeah. I mean, even on Friday nights, we were working until 9:30, but then you go out and people, COVID and all that is different. I'm sure, I know it's different, but still you go out, there'd be bands out on the street, salsa bands. I mean, people dancing and just having a good time, getting in bed around midnight. It might be open and working Saturday, might not be. It depends. And it was a lot less stress than any other country I've been to.
Yeah.
Well, except for Italy. Italy was not a lot of stress either.
Right. I love Italy. And I think like things like that where you're like, things might be open, they might not. And I think that's actually something that we have such an expectation in the United States of like, why isn't this open at this time? This is when I want this. And why aren't these things open? And I really think that because based on, it's just, we're used to everything being open and having what we want when we want. And I'm hoping that after this, a lot more kindness and compassion comes out of it too.
Yeah.
Not only people recognizing what they need, but us recognizing what other people need, kindness, compassion, downtime. Businesses, maybe they don't have as quick of a turnaround time sometimes. Maybe they give themselves a little bit more kindness. I mean, I know that's probably me just dreaming, because everyone's going to be in such a struggle to get back to what's normal and really fight for it. But maybe there is a newer balance in all of this that we can find, and maybe it'll bring us a happier life in the end. I know these first several years are going to be really tough, but maybe down the road we can learn things that will benefit us later on.
Yes, and I hope so too. And I think we will. I think it's going to be big enough and around for long enough, not to be, I put a post up last week, and while most people appreciated it, some people got angry. They saying I was putting fear into the word. No, I wasn't. I never would do that. But the fact is, well, I don't know if it's a fact, but I'm not a doctor. But when you listen to, yes, he's only a neuropsychiatrist in a medical school at Harvard. I think he might have some resources there that are probably good, even if he's not a COVID or infectious disease expert. And Luigi Bacuto down in South Carolina, he's from Italy, but all his research now is COVID. And other people who I know in the medical world, and my son and all these, and Fauci and all them, there will be the brothers and sisters of COVID that come along. There will be the second wave. There will be another wave. There will be mutations. There need to be probably many vaccines to deal with all of them. And it might be like the flu,
Right.
where you get the flu after you have a flu shot, just not right after, but I mean, you get it because it was the different strain. And so that's not at all to put fear out there. It's actually to be realistic. And we've prepared for this. We're dealing with it a certain way, and be prepared to keep dealing with things and just keep up this way of living. I don't really dig wearing a mask. I'll tell you that. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But I'll do it when I need to, when I know I'm supposed to. And what I've noticed, so I think we should be ready for more. But at the same time, look what's come out of it. I mean, we've a new awareness of spreading diseases and all that. I'm noticing too on these trails. I've been here 27 years in this house, right? So these trails up here that I hike and ride, there's more people moving now on those trails than I've ever seen in 27 years. I can't even believe how many people are out there, and that's cool. And see, people are saying hi more. It's like they're friendlier.
I know. That's what I mean. Like, that's so nice. It's like, because I think people are realizing I miss people. Like, I need community. So in your neighborhood, I mean, I grew up originally I was born in Fargo, North Dakota. So I was used to, you say hi to your neighbors, you know everybody. Yeah. But once, beyond that, and I moved, and then I moved to California, I haven't known my neighbors in a lot of places I've lived. But I hear that a lot, or people bringing back, like, everybody's saying hi. People are smiling. People want connection. And I really hope that, if nothing else, the big takeaway we get is connection, community, moving forward, all of those things. And I do think COVID-19 is going to be around for a while. I think, though, once our hospitals can handle it, we have enough testing and all of that, it's going to just become part of the package with flu and pneumonia and all of those kinds of things, where we're not seeing the numbers on the television every day telling us how many people are dying. It's, so once it's a little bit in the back burner, there'll be less anxiety. There should still be awareness, but I do think we'll be able to move past it in that sense, where we're like, okay, we're cautious. We're not anxiety driven.
Yeah, good point. I agree with you on that 100%. And yeah, we'll get so we can deal with it more effectively and less anxiety, I'm sure. But right now, it's a learning curve for a lot of us, and it's interesting to see what will happen. But it's also interesting what's happening right now in the way of, how we're reflecting.
Yeah,
it's been pretty interesting. Yeah. Well, this has been fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on again. I always love talking to you. I always learn so much. I really enjoy it.
Oh, well, same with you. So do me a favor, when I end the recording, though, don't go away, because I got a couple questions real quick. But thank you, Nika. Thanks so much for being with me again.
Thank you.
All right. So and let me ask you this. So actually, I'm going to find you now. So for people who are on what's your podcast? Is there a link to that?
I do have it. It's the podcast, the website, and it's the YouTube page are all the same. They are FCK, the illness.
Okay. I'm just going to find the Instagram one, and I'm going to show people that after the
FCK.
Oh yeah. I've got F the norm, and then F.
That's the one. And then all the other ones are the FCK, the illness.
So people, so this goes on to SoundCloud, the audio does, and then that syncs with iTunes. So people who aren't being able to see it, FCK, the illness, But also for people watching, this is the Instagram for FCK, the illness. You also have the Norm too. That's you.
Yeah, that's my personal one. Yeah. Clearly there's a theme here in how I view things.
Oh, so this just reminds me, it's my show. I can say what I want about it. So my friend Jackie Wu, down in San Diego, she has a thing called the Fuck It list.
See, there you go. I love it. You know what's so funny? I actually need to take her workshop because she's teaching something that I do, and she has some great workshops right now.
I love Jackie. I'm glad you know her. She's really, really great. We were talking about the Fuck It list, you know.
See?
What things are you giving fucks about that you shouldn't?
I love that. That's so good.
Worth giving a fuck about or not? So if they are worth giving enough about, then get rid of them. So yeah, oh my God. But F the norm, F the illness. I love that theme. Well, thank you again. Thank you again. So stay with me, and everyone, I hope you've enjoyed this. I know every time I see Nika and we get to talk, I always enjoy it. So thank you for watching. Thank you, Nika. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And stay healthy, stay safe, and have a great day.